Happy New Year and welcome to Explorer Classroom. My name is Jennifer Bergen and I am so glad that you are joining us today. At National Geographic, we know the power of exploration, wonder, and storytelling can have on the world. And this Explorer Classroom YouTube show connects students all over the world with our National Geographic Explorers for short lessons and time for your questions. Today, our explorer is Dr. Korena Mafune. Korena is a soil ecologist who focuses on plants and fungi. This means she researches how trees, soil, and fungi work together to keep a forest healthy. If a forest is threatened by climate change, she wants to learn about how the relationship between plants and fungi may help. In order to learn about the important role of fungi in ecosystems, Korena spends time doing research in forests and gets to climb trees as part of her job. Today, Korena is going to share how certain fungi form relationships with trees while other fungi break down food for trees. You might think that mushrooms and other fungi are just on the ground, but think again. Before we get into today's lesson, let's welcome our viewers who registered and joined us from around the globe. We'd like to give a shout out to Miss Carricker's class, IDEA, Ms. Overholser's students, Cascadia Montessori, Miss Anderson's kids, Miss T's class, the Foxes, the Turcanleys, HD students, the Dinners, the Henk group, all of our homeschoolers out there, and Miss B's class. We are so glad to have you in this brand new year. And with that, let's get this Explorer Classroom started. It's time to hand it over to Korena to share all about fun with fungi. Take it away, Korena.
Hi, everybody. I am so happy to be here and share the amazingness that surrounds fungal organisms and plants. So thank you so much for joining me today. Let me share my screen with y'all and we can go ahead and get started. So sharing, putting it into view. I am hoping that you all can see that. Give me a hands up if you can. Great. All right. So as that wonderful introduction said, I'm going to share the fun about fungi with y'all and tell you a little bit about my research. So let's just dive right in and learn about how amazing they really are in our ecosystems. So to answer a couple questions that you might be wondering about fungal organisms, are they living organisms? And the answer is very much yes. So if we think about a lot of the life on Earth, they're broken up into different kingdoms. We have the plant kingdom, we have the fungal kingdom, we have the animal kingdom. Those aren't all the kingdoms, but I'm just showing these three to give you an idea of how we're related to each other. So we all share a common ancestor or common relative, right? And the really cool thing is people, so we're in the animal kingdom, we are actually more closely related to the fungal kingdom than any other kingdom. So of course, these are very diverse kingdoms. And when I say that, when you think of the animal kingdom, there are humans, there are a lot of other organisms in the animal kingdom. And the same thing stands true for the fungal kingdom and the plant kingdom. So just to show you that fungal organisms are our closest relative in the larger scheme of things, it's really cool to think about. And when we think of fungal organisms, raise your hand if when you think of fungi, you think of mushrooms. Yeah. So that is one of the very common things that a lot of people think about when they think about fungal organisms is the mushrooms. But do all fungi form mushrooms? No, they do not. And I want to just emphasize that because there is so much diversity below our feet that we do not see. And sometimes we see a mushroom, but there are so many other fungal organisms down there that may not even form mushrooms. So what is a mushroom? First of all, we have a lot of different mushrooms right here. These are 3 different types of mushrooms. And when you see a mushroom, what I want you to think about is an apple tree. So an apple on the apple tree is the fruit of that tree, right? The tree grows the apple has the seeds. It is the fruit. So when you see a mushroom, the actual fungal organism is below ground in the soil environment. Or if you see a mushroom on a log, the fungal organism is living in that log. And so Mushrooms are the fruiting body. So the apple is the fruit of the tree. A mushroom is the fruit of a fungal organism, and it has what we call spores inside. So apples have seeds. Fungi have spores, and the actual fungal organism below ground is going to be made of what we call hyphae, or a mycelial network. So when you see a mushroom, just know that there is a lot more to that organism than you may be seeing with just your eye. So a lot of secrets in that soil environment that I am really interested in exploring as a scientist. And so if I were to go out into the forest and I were to dig a soil pit, I just want to give you an idea of the fungal biodiversity that we have. So here I am sitting in a soil pit. If I were to just take a small spoon, like the spoon you eat your breakfast with, if I were to take a small spoon of soil, there would be so much fungal diversity. There would be fungal hyphae. There would be some fungal organisms that fruit mushrooms in there. There would be other fungal organisms that don't ever fruit mushrooms because there's so much fungal diversity. We could have hundreds to thousands of fungal organisms in a small area of soil, which is just really mind-blowing to think about, that if you're walking on the ground, you just might think it's the ground. But if you really start looking into that environment, there are so many things below our feet that we might not think about if we, for example, don't have a microscope. And so, for example, this is just a picture of some fungal organisms that would not fruit mushrooms, but you can see that they have that hyphal mass that does make up fungal organisms, and they are diverse in their colors. We have some orange, we have some black, we have fungi that kind of form a petal-like pattern. So again, a lot of diversity, and not all fungal organisms are going to fruit mushrooms. And so when we think about the fungal role in the ecosystem, do fungal organisms help ecosystems function? Yes, they do. And I really want to emphasize that if we look at the evolutionary timeline, so like way back before dinosaurs existed, we're going back millions and millions of years, plants didn't even exist on land. Nothing that we see out our window was even here millions and millions and millions of years ago. But plants did exist in the water. And when plants first started moving onto land and evolving, which allowed the rest of life to flourish, fungal organisms were key for these plants to establish on the landscape. So they formed relationships with these plants all throughout evolutionary time to really help plants where they evolve to where they are today. And that also helped kingdom Animalia, or the animal kingdom, evolve to where we are today. So I might be a little biased because I really love fungal organisms, but all evidence points to, if it weren't for fungi, plants may not be here. And if it weren't for that, maybe we wouldn't be here. So fungi are very essential to all the processes we see outside. And so when we think about some of those processes on how fungi help ecosystems function, there are a lot of different groups of fungi that fulfill different roles in the environment. And one of those groups of fungi are called decomposer fungi. So there are so many different types of decomposer fungi. There are decomposer fungi that form mushrooms. There's decomposer fungi that don't form mushrooms. Mushrooms take all different shapes and sizes when they are forming. And so, for example, what fungal organisms can do that not a lot of other types of organisms have the ability to do is they can break down really complex compounds. So for example, if you walk into a forest, you see big, large fallen trees. There's a lot of leaves that are on the ground. Those just don't disappear by themselves over time. They are broken down by fungal organisms. So fungi break down logs, which have really, really tough compounds in them to break down. So again, something really, really complex, fungi can break them down. Same thing with leafy material. And when fungi are breaking down this material, they are releasing the nutrients that are in that material. So for example, there can be nitrogen in leafy material, there could be phosphorus in leafy material. When fungal organisms break that down, they are recycling those nutrients to the soil, and plants need those nutrients to grow big and strong and survive. So fungal organisms really help provide nutrients and break down what I call organic matter. So tree branches are organic matter, leaves are organic matter. And in order for nutrients to recycle in the soil, those need to be broken down. And fungal organisms do that a lot better than any other organism, really, especially when we look at the complex compounds that are in leaves and in wood. So they are great in recycling those nutrients, which our forests need to grow strong. And then another role that they hold in ecosystems, and maybe my favorite role, is plant-fungal interactions. So about 90% of plants in the whole world form what we call a mycorrhizal relationship. So it's a friendship with plants where the fungal organism underground actually enters the plant root. It's almost like they're holding hands with the plant root, and the plant is like, I need nutrients, so like that nitrogen and phosphorus, and I can't reach it with my roots. And the fungi is like, well, hey, I need sugar, so how about I can reach out and grab that sugar, or I can reach out and grab those nutrients for you, and you can give me sugar. And then they form this friendship. And so what does that mean when we look at these plant fungal relationships, these mutualisms, these friendships per se, and how they're very important to climate change? So for a forest to be healthy, it has to grow, right? It has to access these nutrients in the soil, but sometimes it can't reach that with its rooting network. Plants can take in CO2. CO2 is a bad gas for our atmosphere. It's a greenhouse gas. We don't want too much of it out there. And so plants can take in that CO2, make the sugars for the fungi, and they release oxygen, which is good for us. We need oxygen to breathe. So plants can actually take in bad gases and give out good gases. And what we don't really think about sometimes maybe is that we have fungal organisms underground. So not only does a tree have a fungal relationship that can help it uptake nutrients, these fungal organisms can connect trees underground and transfer things below the trees. So not only do these mycorrhizal fungi help plants get food, they help store carbon. And when we have healthy plant fungal relationships and a healthy forest, we have a healthy planet. So where does the tree climbing come into this? So we're talking about soils, right? Soils don't only form below ground, they form above ground on tree branches. And that's where my research takes place. So under these thick mats of soil right here, we have roots. So roots below ground, yes, but roots up in a treetop, crazy. And so what I research is what fungal organisms, so this is actually fungi. These are roots right here about the size of spaghetti, even smaller, right? And so you can see the fungal organisms in there. If we put that under the microscope, this is a root. You can see the green is fungi. These dark structures are fungi within the root. And then also up in the canopy, there's decomposer mushrooms. So when we look at the canopy soil environment, so soil in the canopy, we think about, are plant fungal relationships important in these canopy soil environments? Because canopy soils have more nutrients, so they have more food for plants. And canopy soils have rooting systems from the tree, and they have mycorrhizal fungi to help reach these nutrients, plus a diversity of decomposer fungi breaking down that organic matter. And so it is very important to study the canopy soil environment when we're trying to understand forests and climate change, because these are really old forests and they may actually be depending on their fungal relationships in the canopy soil to survive as we face a change in climate. So a lot more stressors. So what I want to emphasize as we wrap up this presentation is that fungi support all life on Earth, animals, humans, forests, plants, and without fungal organisms, we may not be here. And we really need more scientists to help understand fungi and their importance in our changing world. And as you start learning about things, I want you to know that you can be a scientist and you could even be a professional tree climber when you grow up. So hopefully you are excited about fungi, and I helped teach something new. And I just want you to realize how awesome and cool these organisms are. And there's so much more to discover. We have just barely opened the treasure chest on what we know about fungal organisms. So keep exploring.
I know you probably have lots more questions. I can see them coming in, but it's almost the end of our show. And Korena, we just want to thank you for so much wonderful information. And I feel like fungus can be our friend now.
Yeah, I am forever friends with fungi, and I am always excited to see all the budding scientists and even the budding mycologists. So mycologist is the word we use for fungal scientists. So keep it up, keep exploring, and hopefully after this, if you didn't before, you now have a deeper appreciation for mushrooms and all the hidden things that go on beneath our feet, because everything we see above ground would not be here if we didn't have those interactions below ground. So there's a whole hidden half.
Well, friends, if you're interested in the treasures that the fungal kingdom has to offer, remember what we learned today. You can check out books, local groups, and you can even check out more resources at natgeoed.org. Thank you for coming today. I hope that you join more of our events, including next week. We're going to have a show about giant snails with explorer Martina Panisi. You can register for a shout out or even an on-screen spot with your class or your family at natgeoed.org/Explorer Classroom. Have a great day, everyone. Stay curious, keep